Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm back at my desk today because the weather has been downright dreary this week, and I've been doing what everyone does when they're trapped at home and stir crazy. That's right, I've been going down internet rabbit holes. Specifically, I've been looking into artificial intelligence and asking myself the question, is AI, as it's called by its friends, is AI good or bad for bird photographers? In today's video, I'll share a few ways that it's good, a few ways that it's maybe bad, and a few ways that it's ugly. And along with that, I'm going to demonstrate a brand new cutting-edge feature in a beta version of Photoshop called Generative Fill. I'm going to use it to save a few images where the subject was just too close to the edge of the frame, so stick around for that. But before I get into any of that, I just want to pause briefly and explain what AI does, just in case you've never heard of it. AI, very simply put, is a process that combines very large sets of data with statistical models. It uses all of this data, along with probability, to learn, to draw inferences, to recognize complex patterns, and to make insights and predictions. I learn better when I have a practical example, so I'll use two of the good ways that bird photographers have been using AI for a long time as examples to help all of this make sense. The first example is a favorite among birders. I'm talking about none other than Merlin. If you aren't familiar with it, Merlin is a great app that can identify birds through a photo or through sound. Cornell University has trained Merlin using large data sets. For the photo ID, the app is trained with tens of thousands of images of birds and other things too, like their associated locations and timestamps. For the sound ID, it's kind of the same. Cornell trained the AI models with an enormous amount of bird calls and paired those with data like location and time. So when you use the app to identify a bird based on either photo or sound, it analyzes your complex input, it compares all of the training that it's received, and then determines, based on probability, what bird is most likely the answer. Merlin is something that I would consider a pretty fantastic use of AI. Okay, so the second example is also probably pretty familiar to you, especially if you're specifically a bird photographer. And I'm talking, of course, about AI-based noise reduction. This is a feature that applications like Topaz Denoise and DxO Pure Raw have been offering for a while, and recently, Adobe's even added this functionality to the latest version of Lightroom. So the idea behind this one is the same, even if the output is a little bit different. All of these applications contain models that are trained on tens of thousands of images, and they're taught to see what good noise reduction looks like. So when the app gets one of your images, it's able to look at its training and, based on probability, adjust your image to look as if it was shot without noise. I think applications like this are great, and I use them often myself, but I do want to be clear, they will modify your original image. The output that this software produces will no longer be your original photo, but one that's been modified and cleaned up by a computer. Different people have differing opinions about this too. Some prefer to leave the image as it was shot, for the purity of it. Others see it as a tool that can help them show an image the way they saw it, or to tell a story without the distraction of noise or grain. I've also heard that some photographers are okay with using it, but prefer to be transparent and just disclose that their image has been altered by AI-based noise reduction. And I like this approach. I mention all of this because it's going to serve as important context as we dive into the next section. Let's start with a little demo of an incredible new feature that's been added to Photoshop as of the latest beta version. It's called Generative Fill. Okay, so what you're looking at now is the latest version of Photoshop Beta, and I'm hoping to demonstrate the new Generative Fill feature. And I'm going to use two examples. The first one is an image that I just took about 2 weeks ago at one of my favorite parks. I was caught off guard as I was making chit-chat with some friends by this egret barreling onto the wetlands being chased by a red-winged blackbird. And because I only had a moment to react, I ended up getting the bird just a little too close to the edge of the frame, but I love this photo though, and I was really hoping I could save it. I did try to do some creative cropping to bring some balance to the image, but it just didn't work, and I was worried that the image would be lost. Maybe not so fast though with this Generative Fill feature. Here's how it works. Use your crop tool, and extend your canvas and add as much space as you'd like, and then select the area with your selection tool. Down below, a little menu bar will appear, and one of the buttons says Generative Fill. All you have to do is click it. If you'd like to type something in here, you can prompt what you'd like to see, but if you leave it blank, the magic it will still happen. I'm going to go ahead and click Generate, and Photoshop is actually smart enough to evaluate my entire scene and by using AI, complete it. Add new data to this image that wasn't there before. Look at that. That is incredible. Incredibly realistic, and it looks just like it did when I was there. So did I just save this photo? It really looks like I may have. And I could really see at least the potential for this application in photos that you love, where you might just need a little bit of recovery to make the image work. I don't know. Okay, so I want to show you one more example. In this second image, I've got a yellow-crowned night heron, and it's a similar story to the last one. These birds are kind of rare for my area, and in fact, I live about 100 miles west of where they typically are. So imagine my surprise when I arrive at my favorite park and there's a yellow-crowned night heron right there. I managed to get into position and get one shot before it flew away, and sadly, the bird was just too close to the edge of the frame, and I was really sad that I potentially blew this shot. And so what I'm hoping to see today is that with Photoshop's generative AI and this generative fill feature, we can extend our canvas, use our selection tool, and click generative fill to recover this background and potentially save the image. So we'll just go ahead and click generate. Fingers are crossed. Now look at that. That is incredible. That is incredible. I have the opportunity now to potentially share this photo, to share this story of this real bird, thanks to generative fill. So one other thing I want to show you. Photoshop will give you multiple variants to choose from so that you can select the version that most closely matches the real thing, the real background that you actually saw. I think they're all pretty good, honestly. So this is Photoshop's generative fill. Will you be using this tool in your photographs? Let me know in the comments down below. As you've seen in the demo, the Generative Fill tool can be a powerful tool for bird photographers with the potential to save some images. As with AI-based noise reduction though, there are a few philosophical questions at play with this tool that are even more magnified here. There are gonna be photographers who prefer to capture their image in the field and wouldn't want to use a computer to generate new data into their image. There are also gonna be photographers who will be excited to use these new tools and will feel that as long as the bird is real and the story is authentic, that generating a little extra background to tell the story is okay. Personally, I'm leaning towards the idea of saving a few images that I love, just so long as I disclose that part of the background was created by AI, but I don't know if I'm fully convinced either way yet. And there's actually one more potential problem here though, and it's one that goes back to the fundamentals of how AI works. For Photoshop to generate these backgrounds, it has to be trained on tens of thousands of other photographs that were taken by real photographers. One thing that makes me uncomfortable here is that these photographers are having their work used to generate content into other media, and there's no way to ever credit them for their hard work. And that right there is what brings us to the ugly side of AI when it comes to bird photography. Not only are some AI tools out there using the work of uncredited photographers to generate backgrounds and parts of photos, there are actually new AI-based tools that can create entire images simply from text. It works basically the same way as these other tools. AI models are trained on millions of images, and then users can just type in anything they want and the computer will generate entire images for them. This is bad for many photographers, especially those who take stock images, because their work is being used, they aren't being credited for it, and these tools are able to produce such realistic images that companies have no incentive to hire real photographers or buy stock art anymore over just using these AI tools. So what about bird and wildlife photography? Well, I tested a few of these tools and some of them were pretty bad. Like this two-headed great blue heron. Or this bald eagle with floating talons. Or this woodpecker with an inverted color palette. The technology is developing really rapidly though, and some of them are already pretty good. Like this owl. Or this tufted titmouse. Or this Carolina wren. So what are we to make of all of this? The key takeaway here for me is that AI is something that we've been using for a while. It can be good, it's here to stay, and it's developing rapidly. Some types of photography are going to sadly be replaced by AI, and in a way that's unfairly built on the backs of photographers. But when it comes to birds and wildlife, it doesn't matter how realistic the images get. I have no sustained interest in seeing what a computer can generate. On the other hand, I have unlimited interest in seeing the real stories and the authentic images of wildlife in the world. I want to be impressed by the skill of the photographer and dazzled by the displays of the animals, and I'm okay if some helpful AI-based tools were used in the process, as long as the story is real and authentic. I want to know what you think though. Will you be using any of these tools in your work? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please consider hitting that thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.